Hey everybody, this is Chip Dodd from Team Disability. We just had a blast doing the chill last weekend, and instead of doing like a typical race blog, I figured we do this as a vlog, like a vlog, like a video, and I'm going to show you the map and kind of what we did, what we were thinking, what did we do right, what did we do wrong, and how do I go back after the fact and learn from my mistakes and learn from other racers, try to figure out how to be a better racer next time around. What I did is I took Michelle's race map that she sent out after we had already started that has the CPs listed, and then I took my the file from my watch and basically overlaid it on there's a neat piece of software I can't remember off the top of my head, maybe I can get it in a little bit, but it's used to you can orient maps and get the GPX file or whatever overlaid. So what you're seeing on your screen is my track from my watch overlaid the best I could over the map. It's definitely not perfect. The real map, on the other hand, we did cut our map and we taped it together so that it became one big map. We did also write some things on there, like when the finish was and when the cutoffs were at the TA. We highlighted some of the points, and we actually wrote on the points in dark markers so that we could see them a little bit better. We even put some clues on the map as well. So some of that map markup I might cover in a different video. On this map that you're seeing, there is no map markup, okay? But let's go ahead and walk through the race real fast. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and go through this. You know, we did the prologue, and I was not the one doing it, and so Brent went and did that run and got back. So this is my watch. So we basically followed this road up, took that first right, and then found that second trail and came over. Now, this is the bad part. I was running. We were excited about the race start. I was following Jesse and Daniel, and I know they knew what they were doing, and so we were just following them. And what happened was I followed them out. I wasn't pace counting. We're going through the briars. We hit the water, or whatever, that one trail, and it hit the water. Got completely confused where we were and bobbled right there. I mean, we were just all over the place, as you can tell by this. So we regrouped, found the yellow trail, realized we hadn't gone too far, shot a bearing, and that took us right to CP1. So that was our life. And if you look back at the other racers' tracks, a lot of racers got tied up in this area. Key to it is don't get excited about the race start. You got to remember your pace count. You got to remember your bearing. Don't follow people unless you know that they know exactly what they're doing. Do your own navigation. Don't be a follower. That got me wrecked, and we lost 5 minutes at least. From that point, it made more sense just to shoot a straight compass bearing following the topo down that river instead of running back to the trail. We hit that, realized where we were. We continued following compass bearing all the way over there to checkpoint 2. After that, we did follow the trail down and continue. We got to that intersection and then followed the stream down to checkpoint 3. I had been in this area before. I was a little bit familiar with it, mostly in this area. We counted the reentrants in this area, so we knew that there was one big reentrant here, then another, and then on the third one we would see it. We also measured, and that coincided with the pace count pretty well. From that, head up over that high spot to get to the trail. Follow the trail all the way down to the second map. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick. All right, so let's go back and zoom back in. Sorry about that. Okay, so we hit checkpoint 2. Oh, no, we're already down checkpoint 3. Shot the bearing up and over that hill, got to the trail, ran up the trail. We really followed our turns really precisely. We also measured to make sure that we didn't get distracted and turn before we should have. For example, we could have turned there if we got distracted, but we knew how far we'd gone. Hit that trail, circuit around, got to that little divot where it turns back up above east, north of east. Shot in the bearing, nailed that one. Angled down to try to find this yellow trail, which they're all blazed, and this trail is pretty well trodden, so we knew we would hit it. Just angled into that, followed that trail as quickly as we could, following the curves as we went along to make sure we didn't get distracted. At this point, we made the decision, instead of running down the road and picking back up the trail and coming up, we were pretty positive that we could shoot a pretty generally straight compass bearing right through the woods. There's a reentrant to the right. There's the kind of the spur to the left. We didn't think we could screw this up. So that brought us all the way into there, went up, popped number 5, jumped right back on the trail, hauled butt up to here. This was pretty easy to know where you are in this one because you could see the lake. So we jumped across the lake, walked across the marsh as quick as we could. I think there was like a beaver dam that we walked across there. So we did get a little wet, but it was worth not going all the way back around. Popped out there. This was a pretty easy one because that reentrant was pretty obvious. So we went up to that reentrant to number 7, jumped back to the trail, hit the TA. We did cross the river, even though you could go down to the bridge like 10 feet later. So that may have taken some time. But whatever, we had fun. It's always fun to jump across rivers. So we hop on the bikes really quick here. This is where I made my second navigational error, which I am not proud of, but whatever. We shoot down this road. We're excited to be off foot on the bikes. We're doing good. And I completely blew past 11 and 12 to get to 10. Now let me explain what I mean by that. Basically, this map, if we zoom out, when I originally prepped my map, I had thought from TA1, I want to come down and hit 11, hit 12, 10, 9, 18, 17, and basically loop back around to the TA. But in my haste to leave the TA, I completely shot down this hill, was excited to get over here to get to 10. I don't know why, forgot about the number 11 over here. Maybe it's because I just had hit 7 and I just got confused. Whatever. I should have gone out and hit 11 and either come back to the road down and across if the woods and topo looked obnoxious. But in this situation, the woods were pretty wide open. You can almost ride your bike down to the water. And so I believe the best way to solve this problem was to come in, tag 11, shoot a bearing, come across, maybe hit that reentrant, climb up the reentrant, and find number 12, get back on the trail, shoot back out to the road, continue on to 10. And if you look at what the top teams did, that's how they solved this problem. Okay, so that was a big error on my part. I had to come back and get these later. So we got in there. We did get off a little early in that clearing to find 10, couldn't find it, and then realized we hadn't gone far enough and then found 10. So that went pretty well. Popped over, got number 9. This is one where a lot of people got turned around in this area. There was like a big mud hole where it got caked on your bike and all of that kind of stuff. Actually, I'm sorry, that big mud hole was right up here. I saw some other teams had turned down this road, got confused. That means they probably weren't counting their bike computers, or they didn't realize that this turn needed to occur before making the right turn. Either way, saw a lot of teams got confused in here. We nailed this one, came down, went up and got number 9. They did walk directly to the point, got completely wet in the cold. Michelle later told us that there was a way you could walk around and get to it, and you didn't have to walk through like crotch deep water. But either way, we did the water entry on that one. Okay, so then we shot down here. We did decide, obviously there's 2 ways to get to 18. You can do the northern route or the more southern route. This road looked pretty good, and we had just gone down this, which was more of a trail up and over a hill that had mud. And we decided, screw that, we're going to take a new road because we thought we could trust it better. And that was a good outcome. So we shot down this road quickly. This is right where that farmhouse was. It was really wide open. It was super easy to know that you're in the right spot. Shoot down that road, and there was a well-marked trail and road right there at the right compass bearing, so we knew we were in the right spot. Shot down the trail. CP was right off the road. We did have the choice to come back on the trail and come over. We decided to go up to the road and shoot down the road. Not sure if that saved us much time or not, but it seemed like the right decision because it was really just a few meters away. Okay, counted our roads, came down, hit this next intersection, flowed in, popped 17 without a problem because basically the trail ended right there at the CP, so you couldn't miss it. And then now's the big decision. A lot of teams did different things here. My personal preference, I don't mind bushwhacking with the bikes. So my original thought was I'm going to shoot across, go up this spur and hit that trail. And even if I miss the trail, I just keep following the spur up. I'll eventually find the trail and get to 16 that way. I got outvoted by the team. They wanted to shoot across to get over to here because it was a lot shorter bushwhack. And they just assumed that we could ride the bike faster than messing around with all of this area in there because it was more of an unknown than a known. And so a lot of strategy in AR is if you've got a known and you got an unknown, there's a lot of risk. Even if it's a more direct route, you don't know how bad it's going to be. You could really get mucked up down there. And so we chose to cross over to there, which was a pretty easy crossing, pretty straightforward. Got on there, hauled butts down the bike, did the turn, came back and got 16. We thought about crossing over to 15. That was a long stretch. That was a big compass bearing punching through the woods. There is some strong topo right there, which means you're going to climb up a pretty heavy hill, but you could come down a little further and shoot across and come back up. I did see that some teams did that. That's definitely the more quickest way to do it. It's less efficient. And again, it's a known versus an unknown. I mean, this is an unknown versus a known riding around. We decided to ride around. Now, right as we got about to this point, I was looking at the map because this was a pretty easy road, so I can kind of focus on the map. And I realized I still needed to go back and get 12 and 11. So I'm going to back out here. So originally, when we left 16, we were thinking we're going to loop around, get 14, 15, and head back to the TA. And then, oops, Chip forgets I missed these 2 points on the way out. And I've been beating myself up ever since because this cost me a lot of time. Okay, so we get up to here. We decide, screw it. We don't really have too many other options. So we shoot up this trail here, popped in and got 12. Again, we were. My preference would have been to bushwhack across to 11, but we were pretty fast on the bikes. It probably wouldn't have saved us much time. So I was cool with the team. We decided to go ahead and take the roads around and pop back in and hit 11, no problem. Just so you know, next day we were out here cleaning up points, helping Michelle and Liz clean up the race course, and Andrea and I did punch across 11 to 12, which it was not that dense of forest, but there was more rivers back here than it shows on the map. It did get confusing. It did turn us around, and it cost us a lot more time than going all the way around. Okay, so even when you're off the clock, you're not excited, and your guard's down a little, you can get turned around in the woods. So it probably was a good call not to shoot across from 12 to 11. Okay, either way, so we got, this is during the race, we got back on the bikes, we're shooting down here. We did a good job of counting roads, looking at compass bearings, counting intersections. We nailed 13 without a problem. I did see some teams got confused by this other road here. Popped up, shot down, and came up and got 14, and then shot down and came up and got 15. And then we rode our bikes all the way back to the TA. 14 was a little tricky. It looked like a lot of teams had gone too far and wandered around in that area, when really it was down here in the re-entrant. And this road was not a sharp bend like that. It was a nice slow curve, and so I think some teams just got a little confused and ended up on the high end of this. Either way, it was kind of fun to go in there and see a lot of teams there. We were crossing paths with a lot of teams when we got to 14. But either way, okay, so let's shoot back up the map. We're going to go all the way back up to the TA. No problem getting there because this was very obvious on that. Okay, so our decision on this, and again, we were moving fast and we were pushing hard. We were having a good race, and so we made some quick decisions. Some were right, some were wrong. Let me see if it's better on the other map real quick. Let's see if it's. Apologize for this. Let's look over here. Okay, yeah, this is going to be a better map to look at. Okay, so let's get down here. Let's see. So here's the TA. We did have a decision. We could take the trail or we could take the road and pop up. I think in looking back hindsight, we should have taken the trail. This is a pretty straightforward attack point. It's pretty close. The woods are clear. Could have saved us some seconds there. We did know that we were going to circle back up to 32 from there, so I think maybe that's it. We came down the road, popped in and got it, and then kept going. Kind of regret that a little. Should have shot it from the trail. Either way, popped around here. We see this huge re-entrant basically touching the road. We knew we could just follow that down to get to that CP. Worked flawlessly, jumped back on the trail, watched the compass bearing, shot up and got to the road instead of following the trail down because that was slower. So we punched through, got to the road. Came down here. We actually punched up. I don't know why it's not showing up on the GPS, but we punched up and got 31 and came back down to the road. In hindsight, I saw that some other teams shot from 30 to 31 across here. It was wide open. It was pretty clear. I think that was the better option, so I regret that slightly. But either way, we basically popped 31, got back down to the road, ran down the road, and this is another rookie mistake I made, which I'm embarrassed about, but I'm going to tell you guys anyway so you know that everybody makes mistakes. This attack point, we should have followed the river up to it. That would have been like zero topo. You're just right along the river. Yeah, it's a little angled and maybe there's some briars, but that was a much quicker attack point. We ran up and over because we were thinking we could attack it better from this road and have a better chance of hitting it. So we went up and over and down through behind that house through the reentrant and got it. But as you can see on here, we did up and over and back down. It's just wasted time and energy. The better shot would have been, I believe, from 31 to 30, just a direct hit. So I'm kind of regretting that a little bit. Either way, we crossed the river right there on a wobbly log, which you'll see on our upcoming video, and we follow the spur up to the trail, popped down the intersection, took a bearing, counted our paces, shot in, got 29, no problem. Same thing here. I'm pretty sure we just basically counted the reentrance, followed a bearing, got over there, hit 28. This one was a tricky one right here to get to 28 to 27. This was a little confusing. There were some roads on here. You can kind of see one right here on the map. And there's this road. And I did see that some teams got a little confused in here and got turned around. So, but what we did, we basically came up to this road. We did spend some time here looking around, just looking at all the different bearings and everything, and looking at the map and making sure we got this right, because I didn't want to end up 500 or 600 meters into the woods on a compass bearing and find out I was in the wrong space. So we made a determination. We ducked into the woods a little bit, looked around. It looked like the correct spur, shot a bearing. As you can see, nailed it, went right to it. That made me happy because that was a tough one. That was a long shot through some dense woods. Funny thing is, we passed halfway there, about halfway around the oak course. They did complete the oak course quicker than us, and I looked back at their track, and they did some of these things I'm telling you that I should have done. Just better navigation, I guess. So we have a choice. We can go from 27 to 26, which, as you can see, is probably 400 or 500 meters through the woods. We made the decision to take the trail and run around because it was a known versus an unknown. That worked very well, although I did see some teams punch through that, and it looked faster. And so the idea, there wasn't a lot of mud and muck and briars, and so that probably was the better decision, as long as you're good using a compass and shooting through the woods in a straight line. So we pop 26, head back over to the trail, hit it, what do they call this, aiming off, where instead of aiming for the intersection, we aimed a little low. That way we could walk up the trail, hit the intersection, go in and hit 25. So that was pretty easy. And again, the map had lined up just right. So this area right here was probably a little closer to that intersection. From there, we come down to the end of this street, shot a compass bearing, went in, popped 24, hauled butt, because we had the option from 24 to go to 22 to 23 and back down, or up and over. We decided the up and over was probably going to be quicker because there's going to be a dam there, and we knew we could run across the dam. We didn't have to go through the mud and muck twice. So we went up and around the dam, popped that one hanging from the bridge, shot down, came across the muck and mud, and went up and popped 22. No problem there. Shot a compass bearing, got back to the road, followed the squiggle, and ran into, so this is where you're crossing that big road. We could tell by the curve in the road where we were, got in there, decided to just take a compass bearing and follow it in here. You can kind of see how the topo is. It was a pretty easy shot to take on that one. So we didn't have any trouble there. Shot a compass bearing across, found that intersection, and then came in and got that checkpoint 20. You can also see by the topo, it's pretty easy to tell that you're basically in a little reentrant confluence there. No trouble. I think we saw that one from a long way off. And then at this point, we just had to head back to the TA as quickly as possible, do a quick tranny over to the bikes, and let's see, hang on one second. Sorry about that, got confused a little bit. So we leave the TA, shoot up to the road, shot down here. This whole section was pretty straightforward. The one thing that is, I guess I can talk a little bit about strategy, and I did see that some other teams did this. If you hadn't cleared this course, you can make the decision, should I continue to get these points and sacrifice these points out here? Because I think there's 4 points, right? 35, 36, 37, 38. So there's 4 points out here, but that's a lot of miles on the bike. And if your team is not fast on the bike, or maybe navigating on the bikes hard because you don't have a map board, you could make the decision to stay over here and keep knocking out these foot points, because from the TA, you can get back to the start finish really, really fast. If you did have a little bit of spare time, we had a second bailout that we were planning on, where when you leave the TA, you shoot down this road here, you come down and you get 35, and then make the decision, do you need to get back to the start finish by the finish time, or do you have time to go around on these trails over here? And so luckily we were doing pretty good. We left the TA2 well before our self-mandated cutoff time. I think we beat that cutoff time by an hour, so we knew we had plenty of time, minus any bike mechanicals. So we shoot over on this Bear Creek Road, shoot down to 35. This was the cemetery. We did measure this, which was really interesting. I'm still trying to figure out how this got messed up. I think I was measuring from this point right here and came down, and we actually missed this and went past it and had to go back up to it. And I saw it, and it looked exactly like it did on the map, and but for whatever reason, we blew right past that. We corrected pretty quickly once we got down to where that yellow trail crossed the road. I guess I'll pop back over to the other map real quick. There it is. Okay, so we shot down there, got to this intersection, no big deal here, shot across, easy one on this one, went up, popped 36, followed all the roads up here, popped 37. Actually, I think it was, I would have to go back and look on my track, but somewhere either this waterway or that waterway, it was this one right here, Brent's chain brakes. And we're like, screw this sucks. We're in the last leg, little tiny section of this course. We're doing really well. Chain brakes. But we got the tools out. We did what we know how to do. We had that bike pretty much back up and running within about 3 minutes, which is a personal record for me, I believe. But either way, we got it back running again. We're back on the bikes. We're hauling butt as quick as we can. Get 36. As we're cruising around these roads, these little squiggly roads were a little bit challenging. So what we did is we made sure we counted waterways. So this was a big hill, goes down to a river, back up a big hill, down to a river. We decided, okay, when we get down to the river down here, instead of going back up this hill and hitting it from a uphill attack point, we decided right as that road takes a corner, let's just take a north bearing, follow this up with the reentrant to the right, go right to that hilltop, we'll get it, no problem. And sure enough, it was right where it's supposed to be. Jumped back down to the bikes, hauled ass back up, and we go back to the other map. Nothing to see here. This is pretty easy, counting the river crossings. I think somewhere in this area is where we passed Jesse and Daniel with a major bike mechanical they're having problems with. So we hooked them up with some tools and some CO2, wished them well. Popped 38, and then hauled back to the start finish. And so as you can see, we had a pretty successful race, although there was quite a few errors that cost us some time. And so it's hard to have a perfect race, but hopefully this was kind of helpful to say what was going through my head as I was planning the course, executing, and getting over it every time I made an error. So if you're still watching this, that's awesome. I'm going to get into one more aspect of this race and what I highly recommend you guys doing. And that is, hopefully you have a watch or something that, or your cell phone that you can track yourself and spit it up to Strava. And I'm going to show you why Strava is an amazing way to learn how to do navigation. So under your own Strava, look at My Activities, right? So you click that. It gives you this listing of everything that you've done. So here's the Chill 8-Hour Adventure Race. I'm going to click that. So this will show me my own track and all of this kind of stuff, which you guys are probably used to. But the main tool on Strava that I love, love, love is you click this View Flybys. That takes you to this page here. Every other racer that was there that day and tracking themselves uploads their stuff to Strava. And so now you can see what the other racers did. You can compare yourself to them, or you can compare the two of them racers against each other, whatever. So the one I'd like to show you is the winning team, to see what they did. So if you notice, actually let me zoom in a little bit here. My team, let me untoggle this. My team is the green, and you can see our route. And then you can take the winning team and you can overlay their route. And so you can see, for example, up in this area, you can see where maybe they did better or worse than you did on your race, okay? So in this situation, they ran up. I don't even know how they got checkpoint 1 because it looks like, oh, that's right, checkpoint 1 is right here. So that time when I was bobbling over here, they went up to that intersection, I guess, and followed up, popped checkpoint 1 quick and carried on. Meanwhile, we're looking around in the woods. So we're basically side by side here. Took some slightly different, they took some slightly more efficient routes, I believe. Same thing here, just a slightly different route, but we were thinking the same. So right now we're doing everything the same other than, look at this, where I messed up. They cut in, got 11, crossed over to 12, nailed it, and got out. This was what I meant to do. I completely screwed up, and I blew by that, okay? So this is a good example. Let me show you how the Strava works. So I'm going to increase the speed here a little bit to 120. I'm going to hit play. So you can see our 2 dots. Here I am getting wobbled around. Don't know what we're doing. Can't find it. Oh, crap. Okay, head over to the CP. So we hit the CP about the same time they did. We were chasing them like crazy. Running down there. We were far enough apart. We really didn't see each other much, but we were just right there on their heels. What's going to be interesting is when you see it over here, how quickly it changes. That's when you can see how they had a much better strategy than we did. They didn't miss that, and I completely did. Either way, so we're on their heels heading over here. I need to speed it up just slightly so you can see. Still on their heels, get to the bikes. They trained quicker than we did. They went over there and got those 2 points. The woods were not that bad. You can saw how they slipped through the woods. So here now they're chasing us. Everything's doing good. This is interesting. This is the cut across in the woods there. So we cut across this way. They went up and around, which I was a little kind of interested in why, but I'm not sure. That's where I realized I went the wrong way. So here, meanwhile, I'm up here getting all of these points. They did the cut across, which was the most efficient way to solve the problem. Watch when they blow by me here. Whew, they're already getting those points. They're almost to the TA. Meanwhile, I'm still down here in the bottom of the map. That's where we lost so much time by missing those 2 points. So here, meanwhile, they're already on the O course and we're still transitioning, put us way behind schedule. Also, if you look at some of their crossings, you can see how, they cut across a couple things. They're a little bit more efficient than we did. You see here, like that area where they went around the water instead of going up and over the hill. So either way, I just wanted to kind of show you guys the utility of the Strava flybys. You can go by and look at all the different racers, see what they did right, see what they did wrong, and learn from that. And so the next time you go out and race, you will be the best possible racer and team that you can be. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was helpful going through navigation and strategy with Team Disability. Good luck on your next race, and hopefully see a lot of you guys in the upcoming Florida C2C 3-day race crossing the whole peninsula of Florida. Should be a lot of fun. So see you then. Good luck out there.